Welcome to this edition of Tarvalon Talks. I'm one of your hosts, Thad, and here with me today are Adolla and Dianna. In this episode, we have a very special guest for everyone today. He's a man of many things. A professor at the Citadel, a lover of A Knight's Tale, many scholarly articles under his belt, several Middle East translations, lots of academia and written fiction. You may have also seen him on a TV show called Contact, which is all good, great, and grand, but did you know he has Robert Jordan's desk? He's graciously putting together a book that explores the inspirations for many of the people and places in the Wheel of Time, the origins, you might say. We would like to welcome Micheal Livingston to the podcast. Micheal, thank you for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. I'm very excited. I'm very excited. It's probably Middle English translation stuff as opposed to Middle East.
Yeah. I caught myself in the middle of saying it.
Yeah, my Arabic isn't so hot, but you asked me to talk 500 years ago, and I'm good to go.
Hey, I've actually read a couple of your older academia articles. I really liked the one about the medieval maps that you did.
Oh man,
yeah. I read that one like a while ago too. So I think one of the favorite things for me from that article specifically was your TO map section, because I read the whole thing that you had talked about with the two-sphere theory, and I was like, that's really interesting. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. No, that was graduate school for me. A long time ago. God, I was a younger man back then. I might have even had hair. I'm not sure. So Tarvalon.net has a special place in my heart because I came to the attention of the estate. I'd met Jim, and there was all kinds of stuff back there, but I really kind of came to the attention because when I gave the speech inducting Jordan into the South Carolina Academy of Authors, which was held here at the Citadel, and that was like hardest speech I've ever given in my life. It was really rough, and from that I ended up giving a talk at Charleston Library Society about the literary impact of Jordan, and Harriet came to that. But who also came to that was a member of Tarvalon.net who said, "Oh, well, this was incredible. Will you come talk at our I think it was a 10th anniversary celebration?" It was?
Yeah, our 10th anniversary.
There you go.
It was in Charleston, and we got to see, Harriet invited us to the house, and so we got to take a tour of the house, and we came and talked that night, and it was actually really great. I really enjoed it, and I've been a fan ever since.
Thank you. But yeah, that really kind of set in motion somehow this this is the guy who does the thing or whatever, and that this is the guy who does the thing is part of how this book is happening. So and honestly, it's part of the reason the desk is here, right? That they were like, where's the desk going to go? Well, the guy who does the thing. And so, okay, well, I'm the guy who does the thing, so here it is. And yeah, that being invited to give that talk, and the kindness with which I was welcomed. Everybody's so warm, and who the hell's this guy? It was just like, this is a guy. Let's listen to him, whatever. And it was so I have this place in my heart for Tarvalon. Y'all are cool.
Good to have you here.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
If we want to get right into the questions, we can just go ahead and do that. Although I'll let everybody know ahead of time, there's no Nakomi questions. So if you're listening to the podcast for that, there's none of that here.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to talk Nakomi until the book's out. But yes, all will be revealed, at least insofar as I can reveal things.
Well, don't worry, we won't get into too many specifics.
Okay, cool.
In fact, let's start as general as possible. Tell us about your history with the Wheel of Time. How did you start reading the series?
So I started, I think I keep saying it was when I was 15. I think that's right, because I know I couldn't drive yet. I was living in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I liked fantasy books, and I had some allowance money. Rode my dirt bike across the prairie to the bookstore, and there was this new release, The Eye of the World, and I thought, well, all right, it's looks interesting from the cover, I guess, or whatever, and sat down and started reading it, and spent all my money because I, it was like the new release, right? So it was crazy expensive. And yeah, I took it home and kind of fell in love with it right away. And from then on was just every time a new book came out, I bought it. Even all the way through graduate school, and yeah, it's kind of been a part of my life, ever since. Obviously, my relationship to it has changed a lot. From being kind of like a fan to being, whatever I am now. I'm not quite sure what that is, but I'm still a fan. But like, yeah, it's been very, very strange, this experience, right?
Puts you on the other side of the veil, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm literally recording this at his desk, right? So like I'm sitting, my hands are on his desk right now. I'm sitting in his chair. This is actually this is his chair. Yeah, it's been it's been wonderful. It's absolutely been wonderful. But it is definitely one of those kind of bewildering, like, is this real kind of things.
It's funny that you mentioned that thing about the cover of The Eye of the World, like catching you, because most people I know that have started reading those books, that's generally what they say got them is, I saw the cover when I was at the bookstore, and that's what reeled me in. And it's been it's been a fun ride ever since.
Yeah, it was a terrific cover. I mean, it really was. They're covers, really, because they kind of had the inset cover as well, which is also like, hey, this is interesting. Totally cool. Yeah, I mean, there's some covers that weren't as good, but at that point, like, I was so sold, like I loved it. But yeah, that first cover, man, so good. And the new release re-release that they've just done, where they basically kind of like took the same cover, but it's got like a white background and stuff now.
Oh, the 30th anniversary one, I think.
Yeah, so tight, like so tight. I love it. I love it. It's so cool. So yeah, I was just captivated, and the first, I read the first 2 chapters, I think. The prologue in the first chapter. In the store, they had like those big, comfy, cushy chairs, and I just like sat down and lost an hour of my life, and I was like, well, I'm gonna lose a lot more than that pretty soon. So, yeah, it was just a cool start to a story. And at that point, I could already see, I was 15 years old or whatever, you could see that Jordan was doing stuff with history and with myth. You could, even those first 2 chapters, I was like, man, he's playing with some stuff here. And that obviously is kind of like what has led ultimately to this book, which is about that, about what he's doing with it.
All right. So if you were part of Randland, where do you see yourself?
Oh, okay. So, like, I know I should say something like Lan, right? Like badass, right? Be like, oh, yeah, totally, like, awesome. I mean, I got a sword on the wall behind me. But honestly, I'm getting old, so I feel like that's probably, those days have passed me. Probably Loyal, I mean, that kind of like, I'm gonna keep track of the history, be a part of things, but
always got a book in your pocket.
Yeah, I got a book in my pocket. I'm doing some research, like, yeah, we gotta have this fight, but also after the fight's done, I really want to talk about that fancy arch over there. I've never really seen that architecture before. That I think that's probably me. That's probably me. Just trying to record things and trying to keep track of it all, but still a little bit there. Yeah, it'd probably be something like that. I mean, I wish I could say it was something more grand, but
I think like that's a great place to be, because I love Loyal, and he's just awesome, and somebody has to be the historian.
Somebody's got it. Yeah, that's right.
Who doesn't love Loyal?
That's right. Yeah. I mean, he's so good. He's
Loyal, he's beloved, and that is essentially what you're doing. Is he was the recorder, the historian for Rand's journey and the journey of all of our heroes. And in Origins, you are recording the journey that Robert Jordan went on to write these books. So
yeah,
that's essentially what you did.
Yeah, that makes me really like weirdly nervous. it is a weird thing how much like weight I feel with all of this. And I actually had a long conversation with Brandon Sanderson during the process of this, talking with him, and we were talking a lot of stuff that was just like, for the book, but then I was also like, dude, how do you handle it? Like, how do you, like, just, what do you, from the other side, you've been doing it for a while, like give me some pointers and stuff. Cause it is kind of strange feeling like you're holding a little bit of that mantle for somebody that can no longer hold it from themselves. And somebody that was such a big important part of your life, and is an important part of other people's lives. But yeah, I've done my best. Is what I will say. Done my best.
Talk us through that. How did you learn that you were being tapped to write the Wheel of Time Origins?
So I learned it in an email from Harriet in May 2021. So the idea, in some ways, the idea for this goes way back. There had been a plan for me to do a sort of biography of Jim, Robert Jordan, and that for all sorts of reasons, like we weren't ready for it, and it just like we decided not to do it, and so like that was kind of there. And then it was actually my current agent, Paul Stevens, who was the person who was the editor at Tor, who bought my book series Shards of Heaven, but then he became my agent. He was the agent, or sorry, the editor who represented Tor for Wheel of Time. So he knew everybody very, very well. And yeah, we were just in a conversation, and he said, you should do a book on the Wheel of Time. And I said, well, we kind of talked about doing one before, and just didn't feel like people were ready to do it. And he said maybe you should ask Harriet again, like just ask her. And so I kind of put together like this is what I want to do, and sent it with the assumption that she would not want to do it. And because of what I was asking, because I was asking for something kind of big, right? I want access to everything. And yeah, she wrote back an email, and it was magnificent. The first line was like, "Dearest Mike," and then she said, "I'd love you to do this book." And then she proceeded to tell me that she'd already talked to Tor about it. She'd already like everybody knew at that point. Yeah. Like it was like, yeah, I want you to do this book, and also, like the publisher wants it, and they want it by this date, and we're going to arrange this and that. I'm like, whoa, like that went from 0 to 100 really fast. So yeah, it was in the end, it was an email, and yeah, they were incredibly gracious. Everybody was incredibly gracious. And yeah, gave me access to like anything I wanted, anyone I wanted to talk to at any time. I had the call list for anybody, if I want to talk to Tom Doherty, the publisher of Tor, yeah, here's his number, call him whenever you want.
How much did you actually utilize that list?
I used everything. I talked to everybody, and some of them multiple times, because look, there's only one shot. I want to get it right, and the nightmare scenario is that I, at the end, look back and wish that I had done whatever, right? That I had gone, stayed that extra half hour at the archive or whatever it was. And so, like, from the beginning, I was like, I am not going to face that in the future. Like, I am going to have put every ounce of effort that I can into this. I'm going to talk to everybody until they hate me for talking to them. I'm going to read every scrap. It was really intense. It was really intense. And so, yeah, I did. I availed myself of everybody. And what was amazing about it is nobody hated me for it. I fully expected them to be like, "Would you just stop bothering us?" And instead it was like, yeah, like, what more do you want? And I'm like, oh, nothing right now, but in 10 minutes I might call you back and we'll see. So yeah, it was everybody was really, really super. And yeah, just the opportunity to have full access to to all the notes, right? There's the notes there on public display, here in Charleston, at the College of Charleston. But there's more stuff, and to have all of it and everybody was pretty special. Hope that answers your question.
Oh yeah, yeah,
100% above and beyond.
yeah, definitely. But knowing that characters and places are based on real world myths, in your research for the origins of the Wheel of Time, did you come across anything while you were researching a character that made you, realize, hey, I've done this in other academia research?
Yeah, it did. So so my like main claim to fame, I guess, internationally, is like as a military historian. And this was, I wouldn't say like the driving force intellectually for Jordan, but it was like absolutely a huge part of his intellectual interest was military history. And so like I knew a lot of that stuff was going to be there, and it was really, really cool to get into that, right, and see, all right, for this battle, like the Battle of Malden, for instance, right. So it's like there is a Battle of Malden, like historically, there's a historical Battle of Malden, which has a amazing, it's fragmentary, but it's amazing Old English poem associated with it, which is just cool. And it's like an Old English poem that I've translated and stuff because it's freaking cool. And so like I knew, but I knew, look, he didn't, his Battle of Malden, EN, is different from the Battle of Malden, which is ON. And it's not a spelling thing. Like they are fundamentally different battles, right? So he's clearly, he knows about the Battle of Malden, but has chosen not to redo the Battle of Malden. But he's used the name. But so what has he done with the Battle of Malden? Like in the end, like what has he made? Well, it's mostly the Battle of Crécy, which I've run several books about, because I'm like totally into the Battle of Crécy. And so and it just book come out in July, I think it was, my new book on the Battle of Crécy. And so yeah, like seeing, okay, here's where he's using Crécy, right? But here's where he got that name. He got it from Malden, and that happened sort of constantly. This constant, him making contact with the world that I do, in my day to day, was really strange. Like, I mean, really cool, but like, it sort of gives you shivers sometimes when you, you're like, I was teaching that this morning. Like what's going on? Now that I'm writing about Jordan doing this in the Wheel of Time. It's really neat to have that. And he did that in ways large, and he did that in ways very, very small.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, and I've tried to, in the book, so I have a word count that I like. I couldn't make the book as long as I could. Like, it had to be a certain length, and so like within that was like, well, I want to give as much a flavor for what's happening here as possible. And so I've noted some things that were like very small, which kind of like, in a sense, I don't want to say they don't matter. Obviously they matter to us. We're fans of this stuff, but aren't like, oh my God, it's that huge thing. It's like a little thing. But he was doing stuff with that little thing. But then he's also doing stuff with this big stuff. So like trying to sort of give you a sense of how his mind worked and how he constructed things, and why he was constructing it that way was really tremendously important to me. And so, yeah, it did end up reflecting a lot back on my work. and it was just,
how giddy were you?
Well, I was giddy. It was, somebody said during this process, there was somebody, and I won't say who it is, and I don't know why they would not want me to say that, but I didn't ask them if I could quote them, so I won't. But somebody said, they said, you realize you're the only person who can write this book. And the only person who can grasp everything that he had. And I was like, I'm not sure I like that idea that I'm the only person who can like that. That's kind of strange, but
no
I mean, it's, it was kind of weird. Like, oh, what if I get hit by a bus tomorrow? Does the work never get done? Like, that's not good. But it was just these constant points of contact that, the teeniest little thing that he kind of, left as a clue or whatever. Was like, I know what that is. Like, that's weird. It's weird that I know what that is. Like, why the hell do I know what that is? And it enabled things to come together. And I what I hope is going to really, people are really, really going to love, that people are really going to enjoy, to see this side of things.
I definitely enjoy the small details with a lot of stuff. Like, you'll see a name mentioned here and you're just like, I know what that is. And I don't even, follow it like you do.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's cool to know things. Mm-hmm. And Jordan he knew so much stuff, and like, it's all in there. And, and his life is in there. And I go to a lot on that too. His life was in there, and, where he'd been, the people he knew. It's wild. It's wild.
It's really fascinating. Like, I'm not huge on the military stuff, so I miss a lot of it. So it'll be interesting to read, what I don't know, because I don't know it.
Well, I wrote the book in the most kind of like accessible way possible, mm-hmm. right? Like, not as a specialist or like, you don't have to be a military historian to understand, like, what I'm getting into.
I have a basic grasp of it, but I don't the details.
You'll be fine.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
Yeah. From what I understood, he encapsulated kind of being in the field of battle, what it felt like comparative to, like, a Hollywood video or Hollywood movie of it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hollywood. They're terrible. They're terrible. No, he does a great job, and a lot of that comes from his own war experience.
Yeah.
Which I do talk about in the book. So one of the first chapters is basically a biography of Robert Jordan and what he had experienced and been through, because it is part of the books. It's part of what he created.
So kind of on the flip side of that, what's something that you learned or that you were surprised by that you learned when you were working on the book? And you can be as general or specific as possible, not trying to get you to talk about certain characters.
I can tell you absolutely of the things that are in the book. I can tell you absolutely the thing that surprised me the most, without question. And it surprised me because it surprised all of us. So he refers to the staple crop of the Aiel. Is Zimai, and it's the word, it's corn, is what it is, right? Which is maize, MAIZE, ZE for any people north of the border listening in. So like he scrambled the letters. That's what I thought. Is he just scrambled the letters of maize to make Zimai. And like it actually kind of like bugged me, because this is not how he normally did things. This is like a very unusual that this would be the case, but it's obvious that's the case. And so I wrote that this was the case, right? And talked about what's going on here, and this is really maize, and they make oozquai with it, which of course is whiskey. And Jordan was a big fan of whiskey, as am I. So like that was fun. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And look, everybody read it. Everybody was like, yep, nailed it. And then I got an email, like the book is done, basically. Like it's done. And I get an email from Maria, who's read the book at this point like 5-6 times. And Maria writes me and says, yeah, so I was watching Jeopardy last night. And on Jeopardy, there was a question about the scientific name for maize. And the scientific name for maize is Z maize. And just, I think that's where he got it from. And I'm like, oh, yeah, obviously that's where he got it from. Like, that's, yes. And so now it does in fact fit with, this is how he did things. And now it actually fits instead of being like the one, because up to that point, like this is the one anomaly to his practice of doing things. And instead it wasn't an anomaly. And he'd actually he'd spelled it so it was re-scrambled maize, which he probably thought was hilarious. And like this hilarious like Easter egg joke that he had for himself. And like just because Maria happened to be watching Jeopardy that night, they happened to have a question about this. She happened to have just read that entry that afternoon, so it was like fresh in her head. And as like a kicker to the whole damn thing, the host of Jeopardy was of course Brandon Sanderson's former roommate.
Oh, Ken Jennings, yeah.
Wow.
It was Ken Jennings,
man.
And so I'm like, well, okay.
That's the universe giving a sign right there.
The wheel turns in mysterious ways. Like, all right, let me go change that entry. So yeah, that one is like, of the things that are in the book, that's the thing that like most surprised me, because it was just, and again, it surprised all of us. Like, Harry had read it. Everybody had read it. Everybody was like, that's how it is. And then by chance, lightning struck. And yeah, well, I was wrong. I was 100% wrong. And I'm so happy I'm wrong. Like, it's so great.
I'm so glad that you did this book to give him the credit for all of those little things that I'm sure he slipped in there that we as fans like kind of noticed, but may not know for sure. And now we will just have them confirmed. That's what I'm most excited for, is to see the little things that he dribbled in here and there.
Yeah, he was a clever guy. He was a clever guy for sure. Yeah.
So I don't know if that actually answers this next question, or maybe there's another one, but is there anything in any particular subject that was the longest it took you to research?
The longest that it took me to research? Oh, man.
Not including random Jeopardy.
Yeah, not including random Jeopardy, like things just popping up. So I don't think I can say... Or I'll say this. Okay, I'll say this. There were a couple of things that I knew he had to have gotten from somewhere. And I just, like, for the life of me, could not figure them out. And it was, and like days, hours, like just constant, like sleepless nights trying to figure out what he had done with something. There were a couple of those. And in some degrees, those are the most fun. The others, I spent a lot of time researching, not because it was hard to know what he did, but because I fell down the rabbit hole. Like, because he's dealing with like such a variety of stuff. So like when it comes out, Aludra's entry. So I adore her. I think she's awesome.
Oh, she's one of my favorites.
She's so cool.
Yeah, she's awesome. So her entry is not very long. I mean, because I don't like, it's so much space, right? I can't just go on and on about all these things. I'm just, here's the information, like, move on. So like her entry in the glossary is not huge, half a page or something. But the story that I tell you about where her name comes from, like, I kind of knew that going in, but I bet I wasted a full day just because it's just a crazy story about like who she's based on, kind of thing. And like, I didn't like need to spend a day researching that for what I wrote. It was just like, this is cool. Like, we just keep reading about this. Like, and it was just gone. And then I'm like, that's not good. I should not be spending that much time on, like, I wrote the entry this morning. I'm done. Like, what am I doing? Why am I still like, because it's awesome. And I like to think that actually that is something that would have pleased him very much. That he would have really enjoyed somebody, first of all, figuring out like, oh, you got that name. Are you kidding? Really? You put that in there? And then that they got sort of captivated by history
Mm-hmm.
and were, like I said, kind of down the rabbit hole, like, and were gone for a while, you know, like I like to think that he would have enjoyed that. Cause yeah, I mean, I was sitting literally right where I am right now, like doing that. And yeah, at a certain point, I did a lot of talking to him while I was writing this book.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, a lot of it was like, what are you doing to me? Like, come on, man. Like, I gotta work more, you know, like, and yeah. So there were entries that took a long time to figure out. And there were entries that took a long time just because that's cool stuff. Like, it was cool stuff that he had in there. Good question.
When you have complete unfettered access to all of his information, I'd be doing the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got, yeah, because the information is not well organized. I should say that.
Into the carriage house, like,
yeah, anybody who's dealt with the notes, it's bad. Yeah, it's not super good. And and like the archive is not well arranged or whatever. And that's nobody's fault. That's just the way that he kept his files, for instance, is like, he knew where the heck things were. But you know, it's a bit like one of my great friends and colleagues doesn't organize his library. You know, like, you know, I mean, we're both historians. You know, mine are, you know, like, this section is 100 Years of War. You know, this section is my, you know, Middle English stuff. You know, this is like, his is that's just where I put that book. You know, like that's not organized, man. You know, but if you ask him, he knows where everything is. He's like, oh, it's the book that's over there. You know, and it's next to that green one. You know, why are those next to each other? That's where I put them. Like, that's kind of the way Jordan was with his own notes, is he knew where stuff was. And so for us trying to like find something in it, it can be a little bit daunting. It helps to digitize them all.
Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely. So when working on this project, did you by chance come to a new appreciation for any segment of the Wheel of Time series that you may not have liked as much before?
That's a good question. I came to a better appreciation of early Nynaeve. You know, when I first read the books, and obviously, you know, this is kind of like a weird question. I mean, I was like a 15-year-old kid, a 15-year-old male kid. Like, Nynaeve, I was like, well, what's going on here? Like, I was mostly annoyed by her. Like, stop tugging your hair. Like what is going, like, it just didn't do anything for me. Now, her character, of course, changes drastically over the course of the books, which is one of the things that Jordan was so phenomenal at, is you know, character arcs and development. And so she definitely changed, and I obviously I grew as a human being, and I grew to appreciate her. But to go back and see how central she was from the moments of inception, like that she was there. I mean, so many other main characters that people think of as like, that is such a central character. No, they didn't exist. Like, but she did, like, from the beginning. And to see why that was and how deeply that was really kind of humbling for me. I was sort of like, you know, looking back at my younger self, like, you idiot, you know, like, I mean, try to be nice to yourself, you know, I was like young kid, whatever. But, you know, I'm like, dude, like, how did you miss the boat so much? You know, and And so, yeah, I really do, since obviously in the course of all this too, I've read the books again, however many times now. But, looking at it through that lens of, okay, this is what I know he was doing from the beginning, and then reading what he's doing from the beginning, in the actual books, that was very, very cool to me, to really recognize that and get such a better sense of what's going on, like behind the strings behind the scenes, so definitely I would say it was Nynaeve was the thing that I really kind of like kicked myself for not seeing as powerfully as I do now. Yeah.
That's so exciting. I, like you, very struggle a lot with Nynaeve, especially when I was younger.
Yeah.
She was so annoying.
Oh yeah.
So annoying.
Same.
But I've talked to other fans who are huge Nynaeve fans, and they have brought up to me like, no, but she's so central to Rand's journey. She's essential to Rand's journey. She fits this role in his life that really helps him, and that's made me have a greater appreciation for her as a character. So I'm excited to see how she was central to the process, to add an extra layer of
Yeah.
appreciation. Maybe someday in some reread she won't drive me insane.
I hope. I mean, if she does, it's fine. There's no wrong way to fan or whatever. But yeah, certainly for me, I definitely have a different view on her than I once did, and yeah, seeing that in the notes, and I try and talk about that, in the book, obviously, and talk about how she developed even before he starts writing the books. Like he's thinking about, he's thinking about the books, right? But Eye of the World hasn't been begun yet. He's just grappling with, I'm going to do this thing. I don't really know what it is, and she's already like there. That's pretty cool, I think. Yeah, you'll like those pages, I think.
I'm excited.
Oh, absolutely.
Yay!
Do you have a favorite real world reference or parallel in the Wheel of Time that gets some attention in Origins?
Yeah, I do. And it's totally self-serving. Not self-serving, but self-referential. So where I'm sitting, here at the desk, here in his chair, I have a window beside me, and out that window I can see the White Tower, and I really like that. So he went to the Citadel, which is where I am, where I teach, and this is where the White Tower is. So the White Tower is on campus. It is. There are lots of White Towers in the world, but when he was thinking White Tower, he was thinking of, it's called Paget Thomas Barracks, and it's literally right there. Like when I first came to the Citadel for my job, I'd walk past it and I'd be like, that's interesting. Like, I wonder if there's a connect, like, and it's sort of like eventually found, yeah, that's the White Tower. Like, dude, yeah, that's literally the White Tower. Like, that's cool. So it's definitely my favorite, but that's like, I get to see it every day. So yeah, that makes me happy. And it makes me smile because of so many things that he's playing with. The Citadel had been an all-male school, military college, and of course the White Tower that he makes like flips all that around. Like he loved doing things like that. He just like thought it was fun. Like this is so cool to do this. And if anybody realizes what I've done, they're probably going to laugh. Like, and they also might recognize that this is also, that there's a point to it, like that it is kind of like funny, or I don't know if funny is the right word, but like like clever or whatever, that he did this, but also like there's a point, like making this all male reference an all female reference, like there's a reason for that, and it's central to the work of the Wheel of Time. Like it's central to what he is doing in this entire series. And so yeah, that one's my favorite, and it's right there. So
cool.
Must be nice looking out the window every day and just, yeah.
It's, but you got to work, right? It's
Right.
like, I can't just sit here and just be like, I'm touching his desk. Like, I have to work. Like, I got to get things done. But it's hard not to sometimes because I'm looking at it right now. Like, I know where his elbow's laid, because of the way the finish is worn, like,
Oh.
like that's, and so then you're sitting there like, do my elbows go there? They shouldn't go there. That shouldn't be right. Like, yeah, it's very strange.
I have chills hearing you describe that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's weird. It's weird.
So why don't we go a little bit north from there? So Arafel is one of the countries that we only get small scraps of information about, culture-wise and fashion-wise. So is there any chance some of Robert Jordan's notes have more info on Arafel that'll make it into the book?
Yes. Not a lot. But I do have an intro on Arafel. So Arafel does get its name from the Bible. If you don't know, Genesis 14:1. Genesis 14:1 references a king of Shinar, whose name is Amraphel. That's where he gets Arafel from. That's also where he gets another name from. If you follow the bouncing dot. And of course, culturally, it's echoing the steppe cultures, and the capital of Shol Arbela comes from the Persian city of Arbela. So yeah, he's pulled together kind of three major strands there, to get the basis of it. Yeah. So yes, there you go. There's a little bit of little bit of knowledge dropped. Yeah. But he didn't have like a book of Arafel or anything like that, I'm afraid.
Our last question is specific for our site, Tarvalon. We do a Tarvalon to tier challenge every year, and we like to make sure that our mileage is super accurate. And we know the new maps have come out. But what is the exact distance between Tarvalon and tier in either miles or kilometers?
No idea. I have no idea. Honestly, no idea. Whatever number you're using is dead accurate as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. So the new map doesn't change the dimensionality of the Westland. It changes in some fairly considerable ways the rest of the world, but does not change that. So yeah, whatever number you're working with is probably right. I never found like a master scale that I can sort of apply. Part of that is intentional on his part. He joked about this a lot in answers to people where they would say, well, what about this? What about that? The information on this. And he'd say, well, look, we're getting this all through the filter of different culture, and we're getting it through a filter of, what these people know and how it's been handed down to us. And so it's all kind of garbled, like that wasn't just like an easy way out of answering a question. Like that's part of how he's built the whole thing. It's actually just the honest truth. And so that applies to the maps as well. And I don't talk about this in the book, but I'll talk about it now. If you look across all of the maps from the eye of the world to the maps in Memory of Light, there are inconsistencies. Like you can't make them all work. Something has to give somewhere along the line. That didn't bother him. Like I don't know that it was directly intentional, like that he gave like fudge this a little bit this way, so it's kind of wrong. I don't have like a smoking gun that he did that, but if he was aware of it happening, he was like, cool, like let's leave it that way, because it can't quite work because it's coming from memory. Like, and this is something that that is how we deal with history, right? This is what I do every day, is try and figure out what happened, right? So the Battle of Crécy as an example. That battle's fought in 1346. I have 81 sources literally on my desk that talk about the battle. None of them match. So like, what happened? Are they like, what actually happened? Like, who's right? And I have to be in this position of trying to sort through that in order to make the best argument I can, backed by the most information I can, that makes the most sense I can, about what happened. And that's how anything in history is, right? You know, none of us has full knowledge about, I mean, anything that even happened to ourselves, like, frankly, right? We're like, there's like this constant missing information. And he wanted to make that reality part of the Wheel of Time, because the Wheel of Time was reality. Yeah, it's intrinsic to it. So no, I don't know how many miles or kilometers or leagues or
spans.
You know, whatever floats your boat. Yeah, spans. Like, I don't like whatever floats your boat. That's what it is. It's a good distance. I'll tell you that. It's a good distance. It's a haul. It's a haul. I wouldn't want to walk it. I'd definitely take the boat. Because that's a long way to walk. That's what I would do. Good question, though.
Those are all the questions that we have for you, but do you have anything that you want to ask us about?
I'm scared to, because look, you know, if I asked you, like, you know, what is the thing you most want to know, and then I didn't give you that in the book, like, I'm just going to feel miserable for the next weeks until the book comes out. So I'd hope that when you all read the book, number one, that you cry.
I will cry. I can confirm.
You can...
I cried at your talk at JordanCon. I cry at everything Wheel of Time related. I guarantee you I will cry.
You cried at my talk at JordanCon?
I love Wheel of Time so much. It makes me cry every time.
Like the little, like this last JordanCon?
Yeah.
You cried?
Yeah, a little bit.
That's so sweet. Oh. Yeah, you're gonna cry. Yeah, you're gonna bawl. You're gonna be gone. I mean, because I cried, you know. So look, if I did, you better. You know, like, come on, people. Yeah, the thing that got me was Harriet, because she wrote the foreword for the book, and I didn't know that was happening. So I'm sitting here at my desk, and I get an email from Tor, and they say, Harriet's foreword came in. Can you just double check it to make sure, like, look, you know, it looks okay or whatever. And I'm like, her what? and like, what happened now? And so yeah, I read it, and yeah, I cried. And I was probably, it's kind of just personal. I mean, she's very kind to me. And then when it was announced that I was doing this, I wrote a letter, you know, to the readers. That's in the book. So hopefully that makes people cry. That'd be cool. But yeah, just beyond that, the story of his life and of course, unfortunately, about his death, I think is going to move people. And it certainly did me. There's some stuff in there that nobody has known about, and is going to be captivating to people. That you know, again, I was kind of always in this, you know, do I keep this in the book, or you know, if I lose that, I can put this in the book, you know, like what am I going to fit in the box? And there was stuff that I was like, this is going in the box, and it may not be, you know, somebody might have wished that I had one more entry in the glossary, but no, damn it, you're going to get this story, and I bloody well hope you cry. And so yeah, there's stuff like that I think is going to move people, and I hope move people, and I really just hope that people walk away, you know, with a better, like people have a bad impression of Jordan, because they don't. Obviously, we all love it, but like a better appreciation, like a richer appreciation of who he was and what he was doing and how he was doing it, and that you know, informs. It doesn't have to change anything. It's just I think a wonderful thing to see the fullness of the art that he was doing, and to kind of really recognize that. So I'm just really hopeful that that's what people get out of the book, and that you cry. That too.
Well, hey, we're getting more Wheel of Time content in the year 2022. I can't. I'm very happy by that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad. I'm really glad to hear that. There's some unpublished stuff in there. A lot of them. There's thousands of unpublished words in there. I did a word count at one point, and it was that was insane. It was thousands of unpublished words, and which again was one of those things like I kept asking and they kept saying yes, and I'm like, well, I can't believe you're gonna say yes to this. Like I want to publish this huge like chunk of this, and you're gonna okay. Like I kept saying, yeah, sure, go ahead. And that's neat. I mean, it was neat for me to see that. It is still neat for me to see. I've read it I don't know how many times, and that's exciting to see for me. And yeah, there's secrets that like Nakomi's in there. Though honestly, like, look, nothing's gonna match the hype. I mean, look, people have been for years. Like there's literally no answer where everybody's gonna be like that. That's more than I ever expected.
Yeah.
Like, y'all, it's just not gonna be the case. I'm gonna tell you that.
You got to keep your expectations a little
Well, I mean,
tempered on
like,
it.
yeah, there's not.
I mean,
nothing's gonna
I've been
match it.
trying. So
People have had so many years to develop these wild theories that are just.
it's just generation 2 of who killed Asmodean.
It is.
which I talk about. Nakomi's in there because I'm trying to think how to explain this. Nakomi's in there because this is a story about how he was making the Wheel of Time. Because this is not a replacement for, or in addition to, really, the Wheel of Time companion, right? That is a book that is, I describe it as being in-world focused. Like it's just looking within and like, well, this is the story of, this king or that like it's all that like plot stuff. This is flipping completely around and looking outward kind of at our world. So like, explaining who Nakomi is, like identifying her wouldn't fit, except that it does, is how I'll say that. So it made sense. It made sense to be in there, but it's not, you're not going to get like, oh, here's all this stuff about this character and what their childhood was like or something like that. Like it's not that book, but hopefully what you're finding out is you're going to be captivated.
It sounds very fascinating.
Yeah.
Was for me. Was for me.
So how did you, I guess, how did you wrestle the reveal for this away from Sanderson? Because I think I remember you speaking about this at JordanCon.
No wrestling involved. He offered it to me. We were talking, and I said, look, I have an entry on Nakomi. Do you want me to cut it? Because he had promised that he would explain Nakomi on a certain timeline, basically, and the book will come out before that timer is up. And I said, look, Brandon, I'll cut it. And he said, no, take it. And in fact, then he said, let me write something for you for it. And so yeah, we actually get in for the Nakomi entry is actually Brandon is me, and then kind of like I sort of like hand the microphone to Brandon, and then you get Brandon's spiel. Again, is one of these like the collaborativeness of this. That there was like no hesitate for him. He was like, no, what would be better is why don't I just write this thing and you put it in your book? Like, let's just do that. And okay, like I'm fine with that. Yeah, like do I owe you anything for that? Like, what do I, and it's like, no, just take it. So yeah, you get, it's like 2 paragraphs or something from him talking about it, and then a little bit from me. So yeah, I didn't have to wrestle it. That's just Brandon. Brandon's just Brandon's a cool dude. We all know that. He really is a cool dude, and he was so gracious, like, because he's got a lot going on in his own life. And talking to me was not on that like list. And but as soon as he knew this was happening, he was like, all right, you got my attention. What do you want to, when do you want to talk? How often do you want to talk? Like, let's do it. So yeah, he's a great guy.
I think what strikes me the most is like having been involved with the Wheel of Time, and as long as I have, is that everybody involved is just as much a fan of it and is just as interested in seeing the story be told as the readers are, that it doesn't surprise me that they gave you so much access and that they were so gracious about everything, because they want to hear these stories too.
Yeah, I think you're right, and it is obviously very gratifying. And I mean, with the maps, when I said, well, this is what I've found. Means like the map, and you'll hear all this. By the time this is airing, people will know this story. That there was this information in the maps, and like, oh, should we do a new map? And Tor was like, yeah. And Harriet said, yeah, we got to do a new map. And you know what? Alyssa Mitchell should do it because she's the one who did the actual Westland map that everybody loves. And so they got on the phone and, all right, Alyssa's doing the map. And that kept happening to every turn. Like the copy editor for my book is Robert Jordan's copy editor. Like that they made sure, like, who touched the wheel of time touches this book. Like that it will be like, it will have that glow or whatever. And that I wasn't like, that stuff I wasn't asking for. I'm like, obviously there's going to be a copy editor involved, but they're like, oh yeah, no, we got this person. I kind of got the impression like they were retired. Like, I don't know, but I kind of got this impression like, well, we actually convinced, this person to do the copy editing because they're the Wheel of Time copy editor, and like, and they're thrilled to do it, and having the same readers for the audiobook. So we've got the audiobook is the main readers that everybody knows, and a little bit of me. I'm doing my recording, I think, on Thursday actually, and Harriet. So it's it's the four of us doing the audiobook, and again, just because people wanted to be a part of it, because they, as you said, kind of have this generous connection to it, and everybody kind of felt like it was this, like almost like a way of closure to everything. There was just this moving quality to the whole thing that I really hope shines through in the final product.
I didn't know I needed the audiobook for this, but now I do.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to now, knowing this.
It was fun. It was fun to do. And as will make sense when you've read the book, it was also a nightmare for the narrators, for Michael and Kate. She actually tweeted, we had a wonderful tweet exchange, she and I, this past week, because she tweeted about how she had just finished reading her part of the Origins book, and like was like, had never had so much trouble with something because of all the different languages and all the different pronunciations for things. And I was like, sorry, not sorry. Like, what do you want to do? It was nightmare fuel for them. They, when production wrote me, what they do in an audiobook is they will send to the author, and I had to do this for Shards of Heaven, for crazy books, for history, fiction, doesn't matter. They send you like, here's a list of all the words we don't know how to pronounce. And then like you either write up pronunciations or you like record them. And so, it's the record pronunciations, and they're usually like, I don't know, a couple pages long. This thing was, it was like 600-700 words. It was enormous. They were like, we got no idea. We got nothing. Like, what do you want us to do? And so, yeah, I sat there and I recorded for like an hour or 2 hours or something like that, recording all these things. And it was a conversation too. I'm like, well, this is how I'm pronouncing it, but also it kind of should be pronounced this way. But, in your audiobooks previously, you did this word this way. And really like, so we don't want to screw people like, so there's all this like negotiation of trying to figure out like, just how are we going to pronounce this one word, right? Which is going to take 2 seconds in the audiobook, right? But we're all like, it's like, we got to get it as right as we can.
10 hours of deliberation for 2 seconds of audio.
Right, 10 hours of deliberation. By God, we got it. Like, because we know that, like, because we're like you, right? It's going to matter, and people are going to be, what? But I pronounced it this way. Am I doing it wrong? And this like, and I think all that kind of is in the end sort of silly in a sense, because like whatever your head canon is great, like whatever. But all of a sudden I'm on the, like, I'm not a fan now. I'm actually, I'm still a fan, but like now they're asking me to make a canon decision. Like from now on, canon will be what comes out of your mouth, Mike. So what is it?
Now you're Team Jordan.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, what do I do with that? Like, I don't know. So yeah, it was, lots of things like that they were stressful or whatever, right? but they are wonderful, and they're because everybody has this dedication to get it right, for you all, and to make this what it is for you, right? This is not a book that I wrote for me. I wrote this for you, and I wrote it to I've been given this privilege of having access to all this. How can I make you feel a part of that? How can I make you part of that? How can I make you see what I see? How can I make it something that means something to you? And that was just like the constant refrain that was in my head, and I know was everybody who was lined up behind me. They were just kind of helping hold me up, right, and helping hold me to that standard, and hopefully helping me meet that standard, because they understood what I was doing and why, and believed in it. So I God, fingers crossed it worked, and you all love it, I hope.
I am sure we will.
No doubt about that.
I'm sure we will.
I am chomping at the bit to get my hands on it.
November 8th. Yes. November 8th, everybody. Pre-orders are love. Let's get the bestseller list, y'all. Let's do it. It would really be cool if that happened. I think it would sort of be a shot across the bow for a lot of people that look, the Wheel of Time isn't a past thing. It's a present thing. And we can continue to keep this train rolling and continue to have that love. And with the show coming out and everything, I think it's a great time to be a fan.
There are no endings to the Wheel of Time.
That's right.
But while there are no endings to the Wheel of Time, I think we have come to the ending of this podcast.
Alas,
I'm
yes.
so glad you picked up on that.
So well done.
Michael, thank you so much for joining us today and answering all the burning questions that we had prepared for you.
It was my pleasure.
If you would like, please plug anything you'd like here. Upcoming books, interesting articles you're writing. Sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit. Look, if you're into medieval history, you're into military history, read my book on Crecy, Battle of Five Kings. It's awesome. I love it so much. And it's for a popular audience kind of thing. So if you're really into that, do that. But otherwise, look, just origins, love it, live it. And when it comes out, if you like it, leave good reviews and stuff. It's easy to forget what a difference that makes, right? In algorithms and in the eyes of publishers. And look, we don't know if this does really well. There are other things that could be done. I will say that. And would there be an interest in doing that? Well, okay. I would hope so. So, pre-orders are love, reviews, and be kind to one another, y'all. Just be nice to one another. The world's rough. Hug each other. High fives. Thumbs up.
Thank you for joining us for this special edition of Tarvalon Talks. We hope this interview has pushed you over the edge, and now you're out there pulling up your favorite book website, pre-ordering the book right now. But if you've already done so, get a friend to listen and get them to pre-order the book as well.